I just wanna be evil. What is up, world? All my people. It is day 10, and we're gonna close off the album cover challenge today with my final pick for this list. It's Evil Friends by Portugal the Man from 2013. The first time I heard Portugal the Man, I was in 8th grade, and the lead singer actually used to have a screamo band that I was a big fan of called Anatomy of the Ghost. But then John Gourley decided to end that band after just one album and take his music in a completely different direction with Portugal the Man. The first album that Portugal the Man released is called Waiter, You Vultures, and it sounds absolutely nothing like the music that they put out today. But when I heard this album, I was reading a music forum on MySpace that I mentioned earlier this week, and it was the first time that I heard the term prog rock, progressive rock, mentioned. Later on, I would discover the bands Yes, Rush, and of course Pink Floyd, which all rank amongst my favorites. But really, my favorite part of their music, especially on that first album, is John Gourley's voice. It really shines through, especially on my favorite song from that album, How the Leopard Got Its Spots. The next release that they put out sounded a lot like a classic rock album, and it wasn't what I was into at the time. It was kind of like the opposite of what I expected to hear based on their first album, and that second album was called Church Mouth. I don't think I listened to Portugal the Man again until I heard their song Head is a Flame, and that one was in the show About a Boy. As soon as I heard it, I pulled out Shazam, and I was able to recognize John's voice. Additionally, my buddy Tim gave me an outdated copy of FIFA, and that one had the song Got It All. I ended up listening to the complete album that both those songs are on. It's called In the Mountain, in the Cloud. I was really stoked to see that they had also released a whole bunch of albums in the time that I hadn't been listening to them. One of my favorites from that time period is American Ghetto, which has the song All My People on it. The first song that I heard from this album, Evil Friends, was called Purple, Yellow, Red, and Blue. And I actually was using Last FM, which was really similar to Pandora, but it used to make lists of like the number of times you listen to a specific artist and all sorts of cool stuff. But also, it had the best recommendation algorithm of any music service I've used in my life. So I used to use it to find new music. I would create these radio stations, and I was listening to one that was based off of Wolfgang Amadeus Phoenix, and then I heard this song. And I learned that while I had been rediscovering their older albums, Portugal the Man had put out a new album, and that's what we're here to talk about today. That's Evil Friends. As soon as I downloaded Evil Friends, my favorite song was the single Modern Jesus, and I learned to play it on guitar right away. It was also one of the first songs that I felt comfortable playing and singing at the same time, and my voice was really going through like a development period with singing, so I had to have annoyed the hell out of my roommates by playing this over and over and over. Sorry, guys. About a year after I heard both of those songs is when I actually sat down and gave this album a complete listen through. It's got everything that I love about music. And for day 10, we're going to go track by track. The album opens up with this oversized synth over some really simple acoustic guitar chords. You also hear John's voice layered on top of itself like a million times to create this giant chorus on the song Plastic Soldiers. Evil Friends is definitely a concept album. I read an interview where John actually said the band was trying to make something similar to Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. There's a lot of recurring lyrical themes throughout the album, and additionally they even have reprise instrumental parts. Plastic Soldiers, it's kind of like the opening number of a musical, and you'll hear parts of this song again. Creep in a T-shirt has so much attitude in the lyrics. The horn section feels like a street gang that is just backing up John's words. This song almost sounds like it was made for a big band, but Portugal the Man put synths in there too, and it gives this old school sound, a modern revamp. I don't know of any other bands that sound similar to Portugal the Band on this album. On this song, you also hear the main hook from the title track, Evil Friends, for the first time before that track has even been played. But it is the next song on the album, and I can't say I've ever heard a song that has such a badass vibe. The beginning of this song sounds like some sort of black magic ceremony taking place in John's dreams. At one point in the lyrics, John is even singing, "It's not that I'm evil, I've got a friend in the devil." The song speeds up very gently, and then the guitar comes in, and it's just got this street punk vibe right off the bat. The hook of this song is really sing-along friendly, just like Feel It Still, the biggest hit in their catalog to date. One of the lines says, "It's not that I'm evil, I just don't like to pretend that I could ever be your friend." Already on just those first three songs, you'll be able to tell that John's character throughout this album is a lone ranger. The lyrics to Modern Jesus really stress that theme of independence that's carried throughout the album. When I first heard the lyrics of this song, it made me think of like the celebrity culture that we live in, and when John says the only faith we have is faith in us, I think he's more or less refusing to have his own opinions or decisions manipulated by these modern Jesus type figures. You've already heard me mention that this was another album produced by Danger Mouse. You definitely get that hip-hop feeling in the song structures all the way throughout, and he does bring a dose of soul to every piece of music that he works on. That attitude of "we're about to get in trouble" that he brought to El Camino is also present on Evil Friends. Hip Hop Kids is a song where you can really hear that. The song sounds like a street fight is about to happen. By this point, you can tell John's character doesn't care about the potential consequences to himself as long as he knows he's doing what is right for those around him. Atomic Man is a song where John starts to question modern society again and really kind of see through the veil. After dealing with the BS of modern society, it should make hell easier is one of the things that John says throughout this song. And it also ends with this melting pitch drop. I kind of see that as the death of the old character that John had been presenting to us throughout the beginning of the album, especially on the first two songs. Sea of Air is the most meditative song on the album, and it starts off almost like a folk song. On this one, I hear John's character really being reborn with a refusal to just do and think the way that he's told. This guy's not going to take the safe route just because everyone else is. He even says this in the lyrics, "I'll be brave, I'll be brave, I'll be brave. When the timing comes around, I'll be brave, just let me go now." It means he has to separate himself from what everyone else is telling him. They have to let him go so that he can be brave and take those steps on his own path. My favorite part of the lyrics are when John sings, "We got the whole world standing there in our little sea of air." We create these mental barriers or boundaries in our head, and we think of them as the size of the sea. At any point, you can deteriorate that barrier yourself, but you gotta be brave. Waves is my favorite song on the album. It definitely sounds the most Pink Floyd influenced. The intro reminds me of the song Echoes, and it has these really perfect little guitar bends that fit in as details. The lyrics on this song are incredibly powerful, and they really look at the constant state of war that we're in and the way that we interact with that in our lives. Holy Roller is definitely a bright moment. I love how the vocal melody goes up in pitch when John is singing, "I'm not your holy roller." This song has this really badass psychedelic guitar solo on it, and the horns are just roaring in the background. On this song, you kind of feel a shift from the John and his group being the bad guys. And "Someday Believers" is another one of my favorite songs from Evil Friends. It definitely has my favorite lyrics of all the songs on this album. John sings, "We're all just dreamers, someday believers. Will you ever learn you're not the only one? Everybody's got something to hide. Yeah, and I've got mine. He sings that line again later in the song, and he ends it with, no one really knows at all. I think the theme of this song is that we all dream up our own answers to give ourselves something to believe in. But at the same time, someone could just say, here's something to believe in, buy it. John says that may never change and I don't mind. He accepts that that's the way of the world, and you gotta be smart so that you can guide yourself through. Purple, Yellow, Red, and Blue is probably the most successful song from the album. He looks at celebrity culture again, but really this song is just made to dance to. And by the end, you're gonna be singing along with John when he's singing, I just wanna be evil. My favorite lyrics from the song are when John sings, all that I needed was something to believe in, because everything just falls in place like that. I'm definitely an advocate of thinking up your own ideas, making it happen, but you gotta have faith in yourself to do that. You gotta be brave, and that's a constant theme throughout this album. Smile is one of the best album closing songs I've ever heard. You can feel the upbeat energy of all the previous songs slowly dying down. That oversized synthesizer from the first song comes back just to remind you how the album started. The beat of this song is almost like a military drum, and it builds the intensity up all throughout. Portugal the Man really lets loose with the hook of the first song, Plastic Soldiers. But the best part is that the end of this song actually sounds like a celebration of victory. The drums and the guitars really blast off, and although it ends abruptly, it definitely leaves you with a positive feeling. At the conclusion of the song, John is singing, I'd like to try and forget the times. We're living in a hell of a time to be alive, but you gotta stay focused on what you know you want to do, what you know is right, and you gotta let your own intention guide you. If you haven't listened to this album, give it a spin. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your favorite songs are below. Also, what are your top 10 favorite albums? You can post your list in the comments. Thank you so much for the support that I've gotten while I've been doing this album cover challenge. It's been inspiring, and I am gonna keep things going on my YouTube channel. I'm gonna put out at least one video a week just talking about music and the impact of music on my life. Hopefully I can keep you guys entertained. And finally, I hope you have a big old smile on your face. This may be the end of the album cover challenge, but it's really just the beginning for what I'm gonna be bringing to you guys. So thank you again, and I will see you next time.